Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome along to Donington Park for what will be coming up shortly, round 2 of the 2022 Clubmans Sports Prototype Championship. We're here in the Midlands, and so far this weekend have been blessed with reasonably good weather. It was a little bit changeable yesterday. We just managed to get through the Clubmans race before the heavens opened with a short shower, but today the forecast, while still chilly, is for scattered clouds over the course of this afternoon, sunshine. There's a bit of a breeze, so it does still feel chilly out there, but it's a much nicer day than yesterday, where we opened up our championship season with a 15-minute race for the Clubman Sports Prototype Championship. And it was Clive Wood who claimed the first championship win of the season. Clive, a multiple champion in the past. He missed out on the CSP 1 Class Series Championship last year, where he was runner-up. 3 years prior to that, though, he had been the champion in 2018, 2019 and 2020. So he's kicked off his 2022 campaign in fine fashion, actually, winning in the end by 38 3/4 seconds over long-time Clubman's racer Peter Richings, and Jared Lester completed the top 3. We saw a class win in Class 2 for Maurice Hart. He was the last of the cars that finished on the lead lap, so he was comfortably the class winner in that. And we saw a great battle going on towards the tail end of the field for Class B, which is for the pre-81 chassis that run the Ford Crossflow engine, so the Formula Ford 1600cc engine in reality. Barry Webb was having a great little fight with Pipitana Wood, who had taken up the early class lead, but ultimately it was the 16 times, I think it was, when we added up the maths yesterday, I think it's 16 times former champion Barry Webb that came through to claim that class win. So we'll see what happens in this second race of the weekend. Now, this is the first of 2 races that we've got for you today. This is round 2 of the championship. We will see round 3 back out later on this afternoon. There's been an amended timetable issued because of the support races here having deposited some oil down on the track. So what's happened is that this race is coming to you slightly later than was anticipated, but we've already had the lunch breaks. We've not got a lunch break to try and squeeze in after this race, so some of the support races may alter slightly this afternoon, but at the moment scheduled to be with you around about 4:45, say 10:05 this afternoon for our third and final race. Now, this race that we've got coming up very shortly is going to be based not on the finishing positions from yesterday, but the way the regulations are written for this year for the Clubman's Sports Prototype Championship is that the grid for race 2 is set from the fastest lap times that were posted in race number 1. And for the third and final race, those lap times are again set from the fastest lap times that are set in this race coming up. So it's not finishing positions that are taken into account for the next few races. The way the classes work, if you're not familiar with Clubman's racing, it's been around since the 1960s. 1965 it first appeared, and the way the class structures work nowadays is that there are 4 separate classes. Only 3 of them, however, are represented here this weekend. So Class 1 is for Clubman's Sports Prototypes. If they are running a car-based engine, it's a maximum of 2 litres. If it's a motorcycle-based engine, then it's a maximum of 1600cc. And Mike Evans, who is going to be joining me in commentary a little bit later on, was suggesting that it's a maximum of 200 brake horsepower yesterday for those cars as well. Class 2 is again for Clubman Sports Prototype cars, but those are cars that are running the 1600cc MG-based K-Series engines. So that gives you the cars in Class 2. Class A, we don't have any cars represented on the grid this weekend in Class A, but Class A is it's a classic Clubman's class in reality. That's for pre-1981 chassis that run a 1700cc Ford Crossflow engine, and Class B is again pre-81, so it's classic Clubmans in reality, and they run a 1600cc Ford Crossflow engine, so the standard size, whereas Class A, it's a reboard size to increase the capacity on it. So that's the way that the class structure works. 3 races here at Donington Park. They've got 3 races in just a couple of weekends' time. They'll head to Snetterton in Northamptonshire for rounds 4, 5 and 6 of the championship. Then it's on to Brands Hatch and the Grand Prix circuit in the middle part of May for another treble header weekend of rounds 7, 8 and 9. Snetterton in Norfolk on the 300 circuit in the middle part of June. They have 3 races. They head up to Alton Park on the 13th of August. Just a single day race meeting, so it won't be a treble header. It'll just be only 2 races there at Alton Park. Then it's back to Brands Hatch, but for the second visit there, it's on the Indy circuit in the middle part of September. Back to Snetterton again in October, and the final 2 races will take place here on the 29th of October in Donington Park. It is all of the championship rounds that count as well, so there's no dropped scores in this championship. Usually in some other club racing championships you tot up the number of rounds, which in this case for the Clubmans Sports Prototype Championship this year is 22 rounds, but you will have to count all of those. You can't drop either your worst 1, 2 or 3 scores as we've seen in other championships, so I'll have to wait and see as to whom is the most consistent over the course of the season, because it really has been consistency that, as ever, will win the championships. Well, the cars are very shortly going to be heading onto the grid, and on the basis of Clive Wood, yesterday's race winner, set the fastest lap of the race, he will be starting from the pole position. So his is the grey car with the day-glow flashes to it that sits to the left of your screen, Clive Wood, and alongside him is the number 7 car of Steve Dickins. Steve is the reigning Class 1 champion. He finished runner-up in 2020, but he won the championship last year, did Steve Dickins. So it's the reigning champion and 3 times former champion that sit there on the front row of the grid. We should hopefully be able to guide you all the way through the grid very, very shortly indeed. Not sure whether we're going to get a graphic for the grid, but I certainly can guide you through the way that the grid will work and pick out who is going to be sitting on pole in their respective classes. So, strong grid of cars, including at the very tail end of the field, the number 71 car of Cody Tree, who was at a wedding yesterday, so wasn't able to compete. And Cody will be one of those to try and watch out for when the lights go out, because he, with the number 71 car, is likely to carve his way through the order. It'd be interesting to see exactly how much progress Cody can make as he works his way through the order. It's the red car towards the tail end of the field we need to watch out for. So the grid then, number 50, Clive Wood, sits there on pole position alongside his number 7, which is Steve Dickins. Row 2 of the grid is the green, black, white and yellow car, number 68 of Jared Lester, alongside the largely white car of number 17, Alan Cook. Row 3 of the grid, it's red with some white flashes to the nose of it. Peter Riching sits alongside number 20. Watch out for number 20. Matthew Gauthier-Thornton came from the back row of the grid to finish in 6th place yesterday after problems in qualifying. His car's all black. And row 4 of the grid is the red car of David Barnett alongside the largely white car with some yellow flashes to it, number 70 in the hands of Steve Everson. Row 5 of the grid, number 76, Maurice Hart, who was a champion a couple of years ago in his respective class. His car's yellow, sits alongside Samantha Evans, which is white and light green, number 87 car. Row 6 of the grid is 77, Gareth Salter, and 53, Paul Freeman. Row 7, number 3, Tom Bellamy, and 5, Neil Chapman, with row 8 being 54, Barry Webb, who won his class yesterday, Class B, alongside Pippa Tanner Wood, number 42, who he had that great battle with that I was telling you about. Row 9, 25, Martin Walker, and 41, Charles Jones. Row 10, 52, Roger Watton, and number 60, Brian Hunter. Row 11, the penultimate row of the grid, number 40, Mike Upton, and 62, John Lambert. And the final row of the grid, Michelle Haywood, watch out for her. She had problems yesterday. She's the reigning Class 2 champion, alongside number 71, absentee from yesterday, because he was at a wedding. What can he do for the back of the field? Number 71, Cody Tree. So that gives you the grid. I'm delighted to say that Mike Evans, fresh from the assembly area, has got his daughter Samantha's car sorted and on the grid, and joins me in commentary. Good to see you again, Mike.
Good afternoon, Mark. Good afternoon. Now, it makes a change to be here without any black clouds threatening over us.
And any news from yesterday? We had one car that has sadly withdrawn, but we've added Cody Tree.
Yes,
to the list,
so we've got Alex Champion, who's a potential Class 1 winner. He had to retire. He got a problem with the engine from yesterday. But we've got Cody Tree, who's here, who's, as you said, was at a wedding yesterday. He's hot-footed it over and he's ready to go. So we've got 2 potential class winners, Michelle Haywood and Cody Tree, at the back of the grid. So it should be a fascinating race. Yeah,
we'll have to wait and see. This race is scheduled to be over 15 minutes once more. The cars already lined up on the front 2 rows of the grid. You can see Peter Richings, his red car with the white stripes down it to the left-hand side of your screen. Just coming into position. Row 4 comes into position. Cody Tree from the back of the grid, where do we think? Top 6 maybe?
Oh yes, no, yep. I would second or third, well, first, second or third I would have thought at least. No, maybe win it, who knows. So
we will have to wait and see, because the lights are about to come on the gantry any second now. Green flag flies at the tail end of the field. The red lights will come on the gantry. The revs will begin to rise, and who is going to get the better start when the lights go out? Clive Wood, remember, the silver car with the day glow flashes. Not a bad start from him. Peter Richings gets a reasonable start from the 3rd row of the grid, but I think Clive Wood has just got the jump on Steve Dickins as they head up towards Redgate Corner. The fast starting Pete Richings from 5th on the grid up to 4th, absolutely for sure. So Clive Wood leads the pack. Steve Dickins in 2nd place. Jared Leicester hangs on to third place. Yes, just about. In fact, Peter Richings, I think, is through. I think Steve Dickens made a bit of a hash there of Redgate corner.
Yes.
And indeed, yeah, Peter Richings is up to second from fifth on the grid. Fantastic start to him. Problems for Steve Dickens at Redgate, dropping to fourth.
Yeah, no, maybe just taking it easy and everything like that. We've got, what happened to David? David Barnett's just spun there. He was the guy who was actually second in Class 2 yesterday. He was actually vying with Maurice Hart coming down the Craner curves. He's just obviously lost it on the corner there. But David finished second yesterday in class on a car that hadn't even been shaken down. It was only finished on Friday. Ran it around the paddock Friday evening and out. But he's going again.
Yeah, thank goodness that he's going, and the car just sort of slewed around on the grass rather than head back in towards the pack. So everybody is still continuing in this race, with Clive Wood trying to break away from Peter Richings. Jared Wood has got his hands rather full of Steve Dickens, who's a bit too far away to do anything about third place as they come in towards the braking area for the Robert Chicane for the first time. Alan Cook is there in fifth position, and sixth, was it Maurice Hart that was there in sixth place,
yes,
the yellow car?
That's
So,
right. So
he's had a good start, from ninth on the grid.
That's right. Well, obviously in Class 2, yes, Maurice is a fast starter. We can see the Class 2 battle just there in the background. But there we've got Steve Dickens actually, was he now third? He's just overtaken Jared into Redgate there, so he's up into third. So normally Steve is a fast starter, and maybe... No, he holds his pace during the race with Clive normally coming through, but this is quite unusual to see Clive out in front to start off with.
Yeah, so Clive Wood pushing on, trying to maintain this early race lead, but he's got Peter Richings keeping him close for company. Steve Dickens closing in as well. What have you got there, Mike?
Maurice Hart and Matthew and Steve Everson over the CSP2.
That's 6th, 7th and 8th place, isn't it? The yellow car just heading through shot there, leading the class. Mathieu Gauthier-Thornton not too far away, and Steve Everson, who we've seen racing Clubmans and big American V8 muscle cars in the past as well, haven't we, Steve Everson?
Steve, yes, indeed, and Saxos as well. Steve's
absolutely, yeah. Yes.
He tries his hands at everything. You know, he's a good peddler, is Steve.
Three very different cars now. Mathieu Gauthier-Thornton here, looking to try and attack for the lead of Class 2 and steal 6th place away from the yellow car that lies ahead, but for the moment Maurice Hart is still clinging on to it. Maurice claimed the class win yesterday, but remember, Mathieu Gauthier-Thornton at the wheel of the black car that's shadowing him had to come from the back of the grid yesterday, so he was already on the back foot of yesterday's race. He's fully up to speed. He had a cracking race yesterday, didn't he? To finish, what was it, set the 6th fastest time, finished 8th in the race from the back of the grid.
Yes, indeed, and 2nd fastest time in I think it was fastest time in Class 2, so he did really well.
We were talking about the progress of Cody Tree and where he might end up as we're looking at battles further down through the order for the lead of Class B, isn't it?
Yeah, the Class B. So we've got Barry, as always, with Martin Walker and then Pippa Tanner-Wood on the tail. So those three nose to tail as well for the Class B battle.
But Cody Tree for the tail end of the field, 24th, 2 laps completed, up to 9th position as he came over the start-finish line. So he's making the kind of progress that we always knew he was going to make.
Indeed. So don't give him the commentator's curse, but no, there's always a good battle there in Class B. I don't know what Martin yesterday wasn't quite on the pace in the Class B, but he's going there. Oh, Matt Gauthier-Thornton's had it off. So I don't know what's happened there.
Yeah, that's at Schwant's curve by the look of things, where he's had an off. Now, unusual place for the car to sort of park itself if he's pulled the car off with a mechanical issue. Makes me wonder maybe he's lost the tail end of it somewhere.
Yeah.
A very unusual place in the dry to go off. In the wet you can understand it more because there's a puddle of water goes from one side of the track to the other at that point.
A stream across there. Yeah. That's right indeed. So now what will happen here? So obviously here we have Maurice Hart, the Class 2 leader, with Cody right on his tail, so Cody will soon be past Maurice, I'm sure, and off after the other Class 1 cars.
Yeah, so the Class 2 cars, remember, running that 1600cc MGK series engine. Cody Tree is about to pick him off, maximum of 2 litres underneath the bonnet of Cody Tree's car, so effortlessly works his way past there. So the Phantom, the P94, gains a place there over the Malak.
Yep, and that now will be setting off after the other Class 1 runners. So, and obviously Steve Everson has dropped from Maurice Hart, so I'm not sure what actually happened there. Well, Matt's car still parked up on the side. We just saw a glimpse of it then.
Yeah, a very strange place to go off. As I say, in the wet you can understand it, but in the dry, we only saw the tail end of it. Back to the lead for Class B, and Barry Webb is still holding his own at the moment, but coming under enormous pressure from Martin Walker. And we've also got right behind as well Pippa Tanner-Wood. So 3 cars fighting for the lead of Class B. That's good value, that.
Oh yes, it's always good dicing there. So come on, Martin, let's see how you shape here. So.
So Barry Webb is calling on all of those years of experience, and there are many, to try and hang on to that place. Back towards the fight that's going on for 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th place. Not a lot to choose between Peter Richings and Steve Dickens, followed by Jared Lester. Jared Lester has got, still not that far away, Alan Cook, who's hanging on well, isn't he?
That's it. And Steve is, sorry, Pete Richings here, he's the master of having a wide car. He's one of the world's toughest guys to get past. I can say that from when I race with him. Oh, he knows where to put the car implicitly, and he's always a good racer, but getting past him can be hard work.
Well, I mean, he's got plenty of experience again. He started racing, Clubmans in early part of 1970s, 1972?
Something like that,
50 years ago this year, then he was starting in Clubmans, or started racing at least.
No, but he's a very quick guy. So, but Steve looks determined on his tail there. Oh, here we are, pushing Matt's car out of the way, so that's good news. Looks like we're not going to need a safety car or anything like that. So we've got Tom Bellamy there, Michelle Hayward in Class 2. So obviously Tom's going there, but you've got Michelle on his tail and everything like that. But it looks like the splitter again is flapping around on Tom's car.
I was looking at that. Looked like there was damage to the front of the car. It doesn't take much in these cars. They're so low slung. Is it? If you either clip a curb wrong, particularly if you go onto a grass, you can end up with a damaged car, fiberglass bodywork on them. So it doesn't take much to cause a bit of damage.
No, and this is Tom's first outing in this car. He's only bought it, so he was up at 6 o'clock in the morning changing the diff in the paddock and done lots of other work. And he's going to outbrake Michelle. My word, that's a rarity.
Well, he'd lost the place and then gained it again. So fantastic. So Michelle's fighting back though.
Yes, she will.
He compromised his exit coming out of the corner. She's squeezing him. She looks across. She's squeezing over, and she's going to retake the place. So brilliant stuff. Michelle Hayward. Remember, she's come from the back of the grid. Tom then breaks as late as he can round the outside, and there was almost contact between the pair there, wasn't there?
Indeed, yeah. I think this is a sign of what may come later on in the season. Obviously, Tom is a past champion in this class of racing and everything like that, so he's going to be no walkover.
That was some years ago, wasn't it? Now?
Oh, yes, 20 odd years ago, I guess, something
Whereas
like that.
Michelle Hayward is the reigning Class 2 champion.
That's right, indeed. So, we've got Cody here on the back of Alan Cook. So obviously Cody's now coming up to the first Class 1 car.
Yeah, so this is Cody Tree from the back of the grid, about to haul himself from 6th up into 5th position, sitting in the slipstream of Alan Cook that lies ahead. Alan in the white car with the black stripe right the way down the centre of it, but as they come up to the braking area for Redgate Corner, Cody's still too far away, so can't as yet manage to steal the place away. We're at the halfway point of this race now as well, and they'll start to get a little bit of traffic that they need to deal with before too much longer. They meet that traffic slap bang in the middle of the Crater Curves, which is John Lambert. Sees them coming, stays out of the way.
Indeed, no, excellent job, just getting out of the way, letting them by there, obviously. Alan missed the apex there, so he may open the door here for Cody to actually have a go coming up into McLean's in the next corner.
It's quite a difficult corner, the old hairpin. It's called a hairpin, which it's not. It's very fast, and because you're approaching it downhill, it is easy to run wide, isn't it?
Indeed. It's a much tougher corner than it looks. And the problem with on television, you always lose the elevation. It's actually quite steep downhill there, and it's really tough.
Cody was a little bit quicker there, heading in towards Coppice Corner, and was able to unlock the door past Alan Cook. So as they both side their way past the number 40 car there, which is Mike Upton, who stays neatly out of the way. But Cody sort of, I think, anticipated what the traffic was going to do there and just made sure that he got the undercut coming out of Coppice.
Yes, indeed. No, with smart thinking there, doing well, and Alan going well. Up here we got Pete and Jared Lester. Pete Rich and Jared. Jared just dives to the inside. Now, will Pete be able to get the cut back at all? So.
Now that's Clubman 35 up to 2nd place, isn't it? Pete Richings, the man from Coventry, 2 times a former champion overall, wasn't he? Pete Richings in 2016, and then way back at the tail end of the 1980s is your overall champion as well. But
we've lost Steve Dickens from that race. I'm not sure what's happened to Steve.
Well, he's in the pit lane by the look of things. Yeah, I think he's come into the pit lane with an issue, so he's tumbling down through the order, I'm afraid.
Okay, that's why he's disappeared. He had a problem yesterday that the oil pump scavenging belt broke with a few laps to go and everything like that, so he had the mechanicals. Obviously he's the champion in Class 1 from last year, but his season is not starting off well at all.
It really is not, no, for Steve Dickens, and particularly, you talk about defence of titles. I think I was discussing it just before you came in your championship, 22 rounds, every single round counts. You don't have a drop score.
No, there's no drop scores, that's right, so you've got to be reliable, and this is it. No, 1 drop score. Samantha overtaking Paul Freeman, so that's the daughter Samantha overtaking long-time Clubman's racer Paul Freeman, so good old battle going on there.
Paul Freeman is a very good car preparer, works on a lot of the other cars, doesn't he, for that are there. And just tell us about this Ardmore chassis, this quite unique and historic chassis that he's driving, the red number 53.
That's right, devised by Crayson Brown, who was as one of the McLaren directors, I think, in a lot of years. And there's lots of people who've been in Formula One who actually started off racing in Clubmans. Max Mosley was one of them.
Yes, he did, yeah.
Now, there are lots of people. Patrick Head, he was involved in Clubmans once upon a time in his early days and everything like that. So it's a good base for engineers, young engineers, to start their trade, learn about Clubman's cars. Everybody, or more or less everybody, prepares their own car, brings it to the circuit and works on it at the circuit. So it's very good training. So here we see Samantha actually pulling away from Paul Freeman.
She is, yeah. Samantha Evans pulling away from Paul Freeman, who's now getting caught, I think, by Gareth Salter, isn't it, the car that sits behind?
Yeah, indeed. No, Samantha was 4 seconds a lap quicker yesterday than she'd ever been round here, so she was over the moon. So it's obviously continuing. So,
race leader now, Clive Wood bounces his way over the curbs. This is lap number 9 that he's about to complete. Remember, he won the race yesterday and is still having to work his way through and past the traffic, so size past the next of the back markers.
Well, it's Barry Webb, the Class B leader, and then you've got Martin and Pippa Tannerwood, and we've got Cody Trees is fast gaining on Pete Richings, so that'll be interesting in the last couple of laps.
Yeah, so last time through, number 47 Pete Richings lapped in a 1 minute 11.3, which was still Pete's best lap of the race. Cody, it wasn't his best lap of the race, but he was still the best part of 1.8 seconds quicker.
Yes.
So another lap or so, and Cody Tree will be right up onto terms with the red car with the white flashes down the nose of it that was just heading in towards the shop there. So the race leader is up at McLean's corner. We've got Jared Lester fighting his way through the traffic, the next of which is going to be Barry Webb, the Class B leader. That's the second place car, number 68, Jared Wood, is looking to carve his way through. He'll do that on the approach towards Coppice Corner. Again, another difficult corner, isn't it? It's a blind entry into Coppice Corner. You commit to the apex before you see it.
That's right, indeed. You aim for a tree in the distance or something like that, and when you aim for a tree, and when you get to the left-hand side, you see it'll pick a marker, and that's where you'll turn in completely unsighted and hope you just click the curve on the inside. It all flows when you get the right line, but trying to get the right line is really difficult. So here we've got Steve Everson with Michelle Hayward, who come from the back. So I think Steve is second in class. Is it Michelle third in class?
Steve Everson is second in class. Yeah, Michelle is third at the moment. So yeah, that will be for a change of class position if Michelle can carve her way through. Remember, Michelle is the reigning champion in Class 2. Steve Everson looking to try and hang on to it at this stage, whilst leading the class is Maurice Hart in the yellow car, who's, you can just see him head out of shot there.
No, this will be interesting. Michelle's normally quick around Coppice and everything like that. I think she was here testing on Thursday and apparently ended up in the gravel trap here, so maybe that's curtailed her enthusiasm for this race a little bit.
All the best drivers find the limit, don't you? Once you've found the limit, you dial it back from there. If you're not spinning the car, you're not quite on the limit, are you?
No, I'm surprised she hasn't tried to outbrake Steve. She obviously knows there's a couple of laps left and will do it at the right time.
She was quick though coming out of the Robert chicane that time through. She's fully in the slipstream of Steve Everson, jinks out from behind to the driver's right and has already drawn herself ahead by the time they'll get up towards Redgate Corner. So yeah, it's all to do with the exit out of that corner. A couple of key corners on this track, aren't they? Coppice, because you carry all of that momentum down the straight, and the exit of Roberts is so important.
Because yes, down the crane, the curves in the Class 2, in fact a Class 1 car is flat out. It's a bit hairy in the Class 1 car, but in the Class 2 it's not so bad, and obviously you're able to overtake cars. So
in the background, look at Paul Freeman. He's coming under enormous pressure as Cody Tree, the number 7 car from the back of the grid, laps Paul Freeman. Paul Freeman under pressure from Gareth Salter. He's got the inside line. Whoa. The Malek right the way alongside the Ardmore. Paul Freeman just hangs onto it on the way out of the corner, though. I think they both knew where they were and just gave each other enough room there. So good driving.
Indeed. No contact, but no good driving. So this will be fascinating dice towards the end of the race.
Yeah.
We've got Brian Hunter and Roger Watson here. So Roger's in the Class 2 car, just overtaking Brian Hunter in the Class B car.
Roger Watton, I sometimes suffer with information bleed because I cover that many different championships, but Roger Watton I also associate with driving historic TVRs.
Yes, indeed.
It's the same one, right? Okay.
Historic Marcus cars, I think. He
maybe, yeah.
Roger's got a garage, I think, a bit of Aladdin's cave of Marcus cars and another TVR cars, quite a few cars, yes.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I probably have got the same Roger, but I've mixed TVRs up with Marcos's. So I did say information bleed. I did warn you.
I wouldn't bank on it. So, one thing I got told just before I came up here from David Barnett, he's actually 72. So when I said he's closer to 70 and 60, he says, "Oh, I'm getting on towards 80 as well, you know."
Oh, right.
But obviously, David he couldn't believe it yesterday in the Park Fermi after the race that he finished second in class because this car had only just turned the wheel on the Saturday morning.
Good fight still brewing for second in Class B as well, because that is Pippa Tanner-Jones, who is still hot on the heels of the green car of Martin Walker. They're just coming over the start-finish line. They've got quicker cars trying trying to lap them, which is Alan Cook, who's still there in 5th place overall. The race leader, by the way, Clive Wood, is now onto his final lap of the race, because the clock, as you can see now at the top of your screens, has ticked to 0. So Clive will be on his final lap and is looking to make it 2 out of 2, Mike.
Yes, indeed. No, a really good start for the. But I would say Clive's across the Formula 2 and other cars, so he's not doing all the rounds. I know he's missing the Brands GP round when he's off in Pau.
Yeah, he's got beautiful Formula 2. We've seen him racing lots of Van Diemen's in historic Formula 2000 in the past as well, where he's been a champion in that in the past. But Clive Wood is heading up towards the Robert Chicane for the final time, fresh from the win yesterday. He hasn't got the fastest lap, though. The fastest lap from this race will, in race 3, give us the grid for that.
Yes,
and at the moment, that's going to wave Cody Tree.
Yeah, and there's Clive. He's just taken the win. Yep, so he'll be over the moon. Jared Lester second and Cody Tree third. So Cody's got up to third. We didn't see him pass Pete Richings, but I'm sure that would have been quite an interesting manoeuvre.
Being not doing a disservice to Pete Richings, but the writing was on the wall with the speed that Cody was carrying all the way through the pack. Throws through and over the start-finish line.
Neil Chapman there, number 5. He's taken, I think, 4th in Class 2, followed by Samantha Evans, who's probably got 5th. So no.
And Michelle Haywood won Class 2 in the end. She got past towards the end of that race. She got past Maurice Hart and claimed the Class 2 win from the back of the grid by the look of things.
Yeah, we'd never.
Yeah, so not quite sure what happened there. Morris had a very slow final lap, so not entirely sure what happened there. So the checkered flag flying. There's still another few cars to trickle over the start-finish line, but it is 2 out of 2 for that man there, Clive Wood, who waves his hand and receives the congratulations of the spectators and the marshals. And in stark contrast, Clive Wood, who missed out on the championship last year because he didn't do every single round, has got his championship title for 2022 off to the best possible start. In stark contrast, Steve Dickens, who claimed the championship last year, having finished runner-up before, couldn't have had a worse weekend so far.
No, indeed. No, it's very unusual for Steve after being so reliable last season.
Steve Everson coming over the start-finish line and chased all of the way to it by Brian Hunter, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But for Clive Wood, 2 out of 2. And he's going to start towards the sharp end of the grid, but for race number 3 he will be on the outside of the front row of the grid because Cody Tree set the fastest lap in the race. So the man who wasn't with us yesterday, started from the back of the grid in that race, will start from pole in the next.
No, that'll be a fascinating race between this pair, I think, in the last race, definitely.
Well, I'm not sure we'll get a graphic that will give us the grid for, the finishing positions for this race, so I can guide you through at least the top 10 for the Clubman Sports Prototype Championship. We'll pick out the class winners as well. So the win goes the way of number 50, Clive Wood. Second was number 68, which was Jared Lester. And third from the back of the grid was number 71, Cody Tree. Fourth was 47, Peter Richings. Fifth was 17, which is Alan Cook. And 6th place, the winner of Class 2, the first of the non-Class 1 cars home. In 6th place, winning Class 2, was number 84, Michelle Haywood. 7th place, number 76, long-time leader of Class 2, but missed out in the end, was Maurice Hart. In 8th place was number 70, Steve Everson. He will complete the Class 2 podiums. 9th place goes the way of the number 5 car, which is Neil Chapman, completing the top 10. It was number 87 that finished in 10th place, which was Sam Evans, your daughter. The only other class winner that we need to pick out is just outside of the top 10 in 13th position. 2 class wins out of 2 now for number 54, Barry Webb. And in stark contrast to yesterday, also, when the cars came down the pit lane and the heavens opened, we're blessed with sunshine today,
Indeed,
Mike.
Yeah, but let's hope it hangs around till 5 o'clock when our final race of the day takes place.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that one. You're coming to join me again for that one?
I hope so indeed.
Super stuff. So thank you to Mike Evans, representing the Clubman's Register and Clubman Sports Prototype Championship. He'll be back a little bit later on. We will be back a little bit later on as well, because we've got our 3rd and final Clubman Sports Prototype race coming up for you, scheduled to go green at 5 minutes to 5 this afternoon. But of course, please make sure that you are online watching the stream before that, just in case the timetable is potentially pulled forward. So that's all for the moment from Donington Park and the Clubman Sports Prototype Championship. Thanks to Mike Evans, but from myself, Mark Werrell, we'll see you later. Goodbye.